All right, we're live. Good evening, everybody.
We skipped a week, so it feels like it's been forever. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
your face a lot, but I like our faces together. This has been a hot minute.
It
So
had last week was kind of crazy. I just had an appointment that was delayed for like 40 minutes and it was just too hectic. And I really apologize. That's on me. But you know what? I love the new job.
yeah,
So
yeah, life is.
I was going to say in the course of, sorry, I was just trying to find my other little notes. I have so many notebooks. And I always think it's funny because you're such a streamlined, online person, like Google Docs and stuff, and I'm all pen and paper.
Yeah, if
Anyway,
anybody
um,
knows the way Candace and I work together, it's that I'm the like everything is in a. I'm sending it to you an email. It's been in like a chart format, and then you're the paper on paper on
and
paper.
I'm like, can I just take a picture and send it to you? Anyways, what I was going to say is that last week we were going to talk about leveling up, and we were all like pumped, and we're like, level up your life. It's our new program that we're working on. And then it was like, wow, feeling a lot of the feels, all kinds of emotions. And I thought, I don't see how we can talk about leveling up the way that we were going to a week ago when this is where we are. And I'm so glad that you're like, you know what, this is where we are. Let's talk about it. And I think it's going to benefit everybody. So today we're talking about the art of acceptance, embracing the void. And the fact that I pulled a card. So if you follow us on the Chaos to Calm Facebook group, or not Facebook page, excuse me, I actually pulled a card today from this beautiful deck. So I'm the Oracle card tarot reader person. And it was called The Land in Between. The Land Between, I forgot. And I just posted some of the things that jumped out, and it was like exactly what we're talking about today. What were you thinking about? Oh, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, and I would love, I know that we're just starting off right now, but thumbs up, hand up,
Oh.
whatever, if you've cried this week.
Oh my God. And I love that you have a glass of wine in hand. I don't have my glass of wine today, but I definitely have enjoyed a glass of wine as a sense of calm and just comfort.
And like a good cry, because I mean, I had to
Yeah.
really lie on the floor. I just put on mascara because I had to take a photo for something, and it was like poured down my face. I was like, this was useless. I bawled my eyes out.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really cried. I'm not talking about just like just welling up, but really a lot, like flowing tears and with people. Ugh. Actually, my good friend was over just yesterday, and I was talking. We went for a walk, and then she came over for a cup of coffee, and I just started talking about stuff, and then I was crying. I was like, oh, now I'm a really open, vulnerable person. Hi, Connie, love you. I have no problem with being open and being vulnerable, but sometimes there's that part where you're really showing your heart. And I feel actually, we just came up with our statement. Remember? It was
Got
real,
it.
raw, resilient, period after each word. And that what we do is we embrace the life through vulnerability. I forgot, I'm not reading it.
I'll pull it up right now.
Oh, it's right in front of me. Oh my God.
Raw. Yeah.
It's literally on my piece of paper in front of me. Okay, let me do it again.
Okay.
Real, raw, resilient, embracing life with vulnerability, compassion, and courage. And I love it. And that is what this day has been, not
And
this day, this
the
week.
final statement, be grounded in grace.
Yes, that's how we're going to end. That's how we're going to sign off. That's going to be our thing. Be grounded in grace.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about the void. Or the land between, or whatever you want to say. There's another word that my friend Kathy says, but I don't remember it, and I couldn't look it up, and I didn't have a chance to reach out to her. But what do you think of when you think about this void, this space of yuck?
Yeah, I think one of the things is we all forget that you're supposed to feel the shitty things too. Especially us as people who are constantly out there promoting the positivity.
Yeah.
Then when you hit the floor and you're having those shitty ass days and you're like, I have nothing to give right now. I've got nothing. I've got
Yeah.
nothing good. I need somebody to pull me from the depths of hell that I'm feeling in my life right now, in this void of feeling happy, feeling content, feeling any sort of thing that feels good in your life, and just having this like, what's the point? What's the point of everything that I'm doing? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Like, being in that place of despair. And we're so quick to be like, I can't feel those things, or to try to
Yeah.
push them away, or to distract ourselves. And whether it's wine or TV or sex, drink, whatever your poison is, but like not being able to fill that void, that insufferable void, and not like allowing ourselves the space to sit with it.
And I think some people, we've experienced that through COVID because especially at the beginning when, people who were quite active who, or just wanted to be with their friends and then they couldn't. And I think one of the first reactions was, I don't know how to be with myself. I don't know how to be with my partner. Or, oh my God, my kids, or what do I do? And I think we live in a culture where being busy is still kind of glorified. Sometimes busy for busy's sake, but productivity over, what's the purpose? Sometimes we're just so busy. And when we don't have something to be busy with, sometimes we don't know how to just be. And when you're in the void and you have to see yourself and you have to feel your feelings, I know for me, one of the things that's very difficult is, as vulnerable as I am, I always seem to carry a semblance of control, that I'm very aware, right? I'm very self-aware. And yet right now I was like very emotional. I was feeling angry. I was feeling hurt. I was feeling alone, not lonely, but alone, and overwhelmed. And then I feel like I can't really be like that because people expect me to have my shit together. And that's been my whole life kind of thing. That's the kind of been my portrayal of who I am. But sometimes I'm just like confused. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Now, do you want to go a little bit deeper into the difference that you found between being alone and being lonely?
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. So I happened to mention to somebody that I felt alone. Now, this goes back to all my stuff. Now, most of you know I don't have immediate family. And I've grown up without that. So sometimes I just feel alone. I have wonderful friends. I've got amazing children. Yes. However, at times I feel alone. And what that means is I don't feel like I have anyone to depend on when times get rough. Now, to me, lonely. So I just read an article. I don't remember where it was, so I'm not going to quote anything directly, but I just read an article about the difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone, actually, when you embrace it, can be a great thing. Loneliness is when you're longing. You're longing for someone to fill a void. So I'm single right now. Would I love a partner one day? Absolutely. But do I long for this person to come in my life? I know I've shared many times about, I wonder what it's going to be like. Sometimes I'm worried about letting someone new into my life. But if I were lonely, I'd be sitting, waiting and longing for someone to come and fill this space. I don't feel that way, and I don't know if that clears up. I didn't actually look up the definition between alone and lonely, but I do think that there's a difference. Do you have any other things to add to that?
No, I think that you really captured what a lot of it is that essentially like loneliness is the feeling of, like you said, trying to fill that void and trying to fill it. And I'd be interested, anybody who's watching right now, if you know some of the ways that you fill voids in your life. Because I know for me, I fill voids by traveling. I think that I will find the elusive happiness in other places. I fill voids oftentimes in numbing myself in binge watching Netflix, or in
Let's be straight up. Dawson's Creek, Siobhan.
I don't even want to tell you what I watched recently, guys. It is a problem.
It's an addiction.
It's an addiction. But there's a difference, because being alone, like you said, should be celebrated. Because, and this would be another thing I'd be interested if anybody wants to post, do you know how to be alone? Because being alone is something that's very challenging in our world of stimulus, where you've got a phone that's like 4 feet away from you at any given point of your life. Do you know how to be alone? Can you celebrate being alone? Do you know how to sit in a room and just look at the things, notice the things in the space around you, like you do? You go on such great meditative walks where you're paying attention to the things that are around you by yourself. It's like,
I'm not sorry. Today, I've been really loving evening walks, and although we had a big snowfall and it was quite chilly, this evening was gorgeous. So I went out. I love when the sun is setting. By the time I get home, it's dark, right? I called the sky tonight cobalt blue. I'm walking. I'm all alone. There's nobody else on the trail. I'm talking to myself because that's what I do. Not loudly. I'm just like, yeah. And all of a sudden I look up and there are 3 deer, like right there. Look like there's like, what is this crazy woman doing? And it was a mother and her 2 babies. They're smaller than her. They look like, whatever, but they're right there beside me when I noticed them. And then I stop and I'm like, oh, hi. And then then the mother starts to walk around me like, but it was so funny. I was just so caught up in my walk and my, working through things. And there's these beautiful deer just standing right there. And I'm glad I caught a glimpse of them and I didn't just walk past. Yeah. But I was going to say about the void. So when you allow yourself to be alone, and you kind of have to embrace the void alone, you can have support. I can talk to you, girl. We talk, man. I have to say, Siobhan is probably sees the most ugly parts of me, and I share a lot of ugly. I'm talking about, the snot crying, the real like cringy feelings or realities. She gets a lot of it, and I'm very thankful because she also shares. So that's a really important thing. But in order for me to go through my emotions and my feelings, and we're always very in sync, which is odd, I have to be alone. I have to think about it for myself. And oh, Kathy's on. Kathy, who's talking about you? What do you call the void? What is the other word for it? Oh, she wrote it already. Sorry, I didn't have my glasses on. I love being alone. I want to say the challenge is the liminal space. That's what it is, the liminal space. It's where the magic happens. Yes, Kathy, you're right. Those are exactly the things I jotted down. Damn it, I love you. Because when you can get in this discomfort, it is an unraveling. It's imagine the ego, and I'm not, down in the ego, but the ego is a lot of our protection, and it gets built up around us, and we can get defensive, and when we start to see what we're doing, it's like, oh my God, you see your ugly parts. And when I say ugly, I don't mean physical appearance, right? I'm not doing that. I'm talking about your weaknesses, your insecurities, your fear, your anger, right? And it starts to come out and you need to address it. And Kathy's right. It might be uncomfortable in this space, but that's where the magic happens because you do transform. Siobhan, I don't know if you want to share anything that's been coming up for you, emotions or anything.
Oh my goodness. So, well, actually on Kathy's note about transformation, yeah. When I lived in the Middle East, and I have never been quite as alone or lonely, both of those things, or depressed, actually, a lot of really good emotions coming up. But that was where the most transformation happened in my life because I was the most uncomfortable. Yes. Because change doesn't happen in our comfort zones. The most aha moments, the times that you hit rock bottom are when the big crazy shifts happen in your life. Because if you, and here's the amazing thing too about physical pain versus emotional pain. Physical you will stop that shit in a second. I don't know if any of you ladies suffer from menstrual cramps, but the first sign of a fucking cramp, and you bet your ass I've got a Midol, a whatever. I'm like, no, not doing this. That pain, physical, can't do it. But when it comes to emotional, you'll grin and bear a lot of things. You will accept a lot of things. You'll go through a lot of things, and you'll be like, it's enough. It's a dull, painful sensation, but not enough to make a move. But when it becomes that throbbing, cannot get out of bed, pull yourself off the ground, or whatever your version of uncomfortable is, that's when something incredible happens. That's the moment when you're like, it's time to change. Transformation, magic, all those things happen in that space of stillness, in that space of alone, in that space of desperation sometimes, where you're like, finally, I'm ready to make a change because this has become so unbearable. So
it's so funny that you say desperation. So we haven't even gotten to talk about it yet, but you know what I'm about to say. Someone said that I just yesterday came across as desperate, almost possessed, and that I was very intense. And I was like, all right. So I just shut down. I have been running those words over my head, and I said, ego, stop. I know what you're doing. Because what they were this person was pointing out my flaws. And I don't think they were doing it to be cruel. But when I thought about desperate and possessed, what? I was thinking not in control and not being oneself. And I didn't like it. And then I thought about why that came up. And, I had been revealing myself to someone I didn't know. And I had a lot of pent up emotions. A lot of stuff has been coming to the surface. And I'm really trying to focus. I've been journaling every day, walking. And, it's interesting. I'm looking at what Connie said here, that she can sit by herself, but the guilt of not doing comes in. Absolutely. That happened to me after I had my last kid. I felt like I should be doing. I really resisted the recovery. I resisted having this baby, and I had pseudo gout, and I couldn't walk. It was like my body shut me down because I had to do nothing, and I feel like I'm going through that right now. And the emotions are so uncomfortable. I don't like being angry. I don't like being sad. I'm like, I just want to move forward. But then I fill my void with doing. That's exactly what I do. But you have to sometimes stop.
Do you want to go through some of the things that you put on your list of
Yeah, hold on. Let me just see what Kathy said here, and then I will. That for her, that alone can be a trauma response. Girl, stop. Stop it. Are you calling me out? She's putting herself out there, but it's totally fucking me. And this is when the wall goes up. Fuck it, I'm done. Bye. And then I just shut down. I don't know. Do you do that, Siobhan?
Mine's a little bit different. I don't think like
okay. What do you? You're much more fierce. You're like a.
I'm a get angry person. Like I'm all numb and stay, but like I had an ex call me a pretty little time bomb because like I'm really chill until like you like push that last nerve, and then I'm very Scorpio energy. So I
just saw like this thing come down. Yeah, that shutdown though is a trauma. Like, I don't know about Kathy, but that feeling of I have to do it by myself. I have to figure it all out. Actually, that's what I just said. Okay, I'm gonna admit. I just saw a therapist yesterday for the first time in like a bazillion years, and I just said, feeling like everything is on my shoulders, and that's a burden that I've carried pretty much through my whole life. And sometimes you want to shake that off, but you've got a home, a job, and kids, and it's very difficult. So I know you're also calling yourself out. I know you're right. Kathy's like, I know you're calling yourself out, and I know you're not the one for sugarcoating. Neither am I. And we had a great conversation just the other day, and this desperate and possessed. Let me go back to that real quick, because sometimes when we're in the void, we feel the need to, I don't like it, I have to do something. And you almost get panicked into what you want to do next. So let's talk about some of these points. So the void can be a place of confusion, because we're almost searching and we want something and it seems elusive and we don't know how to get what we want. You and I are both talking about what we want, and it seems like, sometimes you and I, we're so positive. We're like, you know what, setting intentions, manifesting great shit. And we've done amazing things in the short time we've been connected, right? Yeah. But then it's like the other stuff feels like it's never going to happen. And I'm sure, please guys, if you agree, have you ever felt like, although I remember having a conversation with my uncle one time, and he's like, I said, don't you want to just do more? And he's like, no, I'm pretty content. I'm like, what? I think you said something about, what did you say about always looking for the next thing? Or, well, do you remember what you said?
It's part of the pursuit of happiness. The problem is, again, in the void, in this void of like the times that you feel like shit, it's always that elusive thing, that next thing. It's the next thing that's going to provide the happiness that you can't find in this moment. And again, when we're talking about the void, a void for you might be just the shitty feelings about not feeling good enough today, or allowing people to have those down days, or the fact that like, this year coronavirus has been a fucking whirlwind for everybody. So there's this massive void for a lot of people. You're not seeing the same people, you're not doing the same things, you're not getting to go to the gyms or the social things or whatever your day-to-day look like. That's been shifted, and that has created this void for so many people. So, but we constantly try to like, all right, we'll push past that. We'll forget the thing. We'll go on to the next thing. But it's like, we're here to talk about the fact that like, it's okay not to be okay.
Exactly. And because anytime that you try to distract yourself from feeling what you're feeling and being in that moment, then what you're doing is you're just avoiding the fact that there's a part of you that's kind of slipped away, almost like a fragment, right? It's like, And you need to look at that. So one of the big things that have come up is asking yourself. So one of the things I said I've been doing is journaling every day. And sometimes like journaling is amazing. And what I keep using is cards. I'm a tarot reader, but for some reason I can't seem to right now read for myself. I feel like I'm not meant to interpret anything consciously or, through guidance. But when you pull a card, and by card, once again, I mean an oracle deck. This just happens to be the one I'm sitting here, because you get a message, and the cards have been amazing. And then it allows me to dig deeper and ask myself some questions like, what am I looking for? That's the big thing. What do you want? What do you want? And then you have to look at the why. Why? So if I think I want to change jobs, okay, then why? Right? Why? Some bad happened. So what's underneath that? Or I want to move. Well, why? Or I want this. Why? Whenever you dig deeper, remember, I think you did in one of our programs, I've got a lot of stuff coming out really soon. But didn't you break something down, like the deeper layers of the why?
The layers of why. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You got to look at all the layers, right?
You can find that in our next program coming up.
Yeah. I don't remember which one, because there's a lot. And then also, not just those questions, but what are you afraid of? And, one thing that when I answered that question for myself, my answer was being seen, which is so weird. I put myself out there all the time. But I think there's a part that is very protected. There's a part of me that just feels like I'm afraid to be hurt, I think. Actually, it's just coming out. It's just the answers are just coming as I'm thinking about right now. So what are you afraid of? What are the voices saying? The voice in your head, your ego. And the ego is kind of like me running over those 3 words in my mind: possessed, desperate, and intense. Okay. I'm like, okay, I love the me that. That's what I did. I'm like, I love the me that seems possessed right now, or desperate, or whatever. I've been through a lot lately. So I love the me that. But what are the other voices? The people outside you, the people that you care about. Are you around supportive people, or are you around people who are judging, or, whatever? And the other thing is then, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
When you think about what you want, and obviously you're in a place of discomfort if you're in the void and you're kind of feeling like, I don't know what to do. Maybe you're trying to rush forward. You don't know how to just trust. Anyway, Siobhan, what do you want to add to that?
Well, I was going to say, Kathy had mentioned that for her, that it's a trauma trigger to go into isolation. And I said that for me, my trauma trigger is to get pissed off. And I wanted to make a note that, like, I had a chat with somebody earlier today, and this is where this came up. And I said, the opposite of rage is not, happiness. It's not like anger's opposite is happy.
Right.
Anger's opposite, as we've mentioned in programs before, is fear. So
Yes.
for me, my pissed off is actually a fear. And it's the fear always of not being enough. Always not being enough, the fear of perfection, the fear of being loved, the fear of not being seen, the fear of being judged. So these things are what like fill up my void. So when I have these moments of wild discomfort where I'm like, am I doing the shit I'm supposed to be doing right now? Am I on the right path? Why the fuck am I in this country? Like all of the things that I go through and say, you'll have to read that. That one's a long one. All of the things that I run through my head like an absolute like maniac on repeat is all the fear-based responses. So that's what sits in my void, and that discomfort is constantly comes out as anger, but it's fear.
But I think, Siobhan, that fear underlies like everything in the sense, not everything, but like when you think about war, politics, borders, law, all these different things are based on fear and its control. And what was revealed to me, so I did a video and then I deleted it, but in the video I just said that I had this realization that something had happened that really upset me, and what is underneath that's really not that big of a deal. But the answer came right away, that it was another experience of me being imperfect, and then it was like the end of the effing world. Like, so this happened to me throughout my whole life. Oh, Candace, we don't like that. So now we're not going to talk to you anymore. We don't want you in our lives anymore. You're not going to live with us anymore. And I guess there's a fear of not being enough, like you just said, a fear of that I have to be perfect. Now, I don't consciously think like this. This is not in my mind, but when this incident happened, it made me feel like, and the way that it was resolved and what happened, I felt those same feelings. So let's see what Kathy says. So many are looking for the instant gratification, but slow and steady wins the race. Put in the work, keep moving forward, and you'll get where you want to. And that we're really stuck on instant gratification, especially these days, for sure. And it is awful. And this is interesting because so Kathy is a doula, amazing doula, did some amazing work for me, so I can speak firsthand. And so she even sees that in birth work. No one wants to let things unfold in their own time, for sure. And then the other side of it is the death doula, right? So easing people's transition to the other side of whatever comes on the other side of death. And you definitely can't rush that. And it's all about letting unfold. I really appreciate those things. I do feel like that. I'm curious about, Siobhan, what you think about this, looking for instant gratification. You and I both just discussing about the things that we want, what we desire, and it is an impatience, absolutely. And the reason why I feel impatient is because I feel like I've lived my whole life for other people, spending so much time doing what was right. I'm an educator, not so much because I wanted to be a teacher. I love teenagers, but mostly I wanted to help kids because I had a really shitty teenage life. But I did that because it seemed like the good way to go for structure and security. Absolutely. And living life for other people, making sure everything was structured and secure. And I'm getting kind of sick of it. It's kind of building because I want to do something for me. I want an adventure. The word adventure keeps coming up. Is it that I'm supposed to go on vacation? I don't know. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But I feel like there's something more. And you're right, Kathy. I know that it can't happen right now. I'm trying to just let it unfold and enjoy the process, but it's uncomfortable because I'm like antsy about it. Siobhan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, so just so that we're like now finding solutions to all of these
Yes, I've got some great suggestions.
Suggestions.
Yes.
Some of the things, again, it's like acceptance is a big one. Like you said, being able to accept where you are right now in this moment, accept the fact that some of it's going to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And being able to sit with that discomfort. Like if I'm teaching a yoga class, or actually I had a client earlier for Thai massage. So if you're in KW, you want one, holla. But I was talking to her about breathing into discomfort in her body and the pain, and breathing. And can you hold space for that pain? And it was a physical pain, but I was asking her to hold space for it and just, can you allow it? And we have to do the same thing when it comes to our emotional pain.
Yes.
You just allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling instead of trying to mask it, cover it up, give it a better
down,
push it away. Can you just allow yourself for that moment to feel the discomfort, to feel the pain, to feel the happiness? Because again, you cannot have the duality of the happiness without all the other things that go with it. You can't appreciate the best of your days if you don't know what it's like to have the worst of your days. So you do need a bit of both. So sitting into that, easing into that discomfort is really, really important. And I mean, we talk about it, and I know you've got a list in front of you, but gratitude. Like if there could ever be something, just to like write down some days. And this came up earlier with the person I was talking to. I said, when I was really, truly depressed, my son and I had a running joke where we'd be like, at least you don't smell like dog shit. And the reason that was the thing, it was like some days when I was really, really struggling, it was like I couldn't even get out of bed, couldn't have a shower. It was really hard. And then the joke was like, at least I don't stink like a shoe or like dog shit. So it was like, there's my win. If that's the only win that I have today, that's the thing that I celebrate. So that might have been.
That's important though.
Yeah.
Like someone wrote on Facebook about all the things that they'd already accomplished in the day, and someone wrote, "I got up today." Well, that's a start, and
that needs to be celebrated the most.
I remember when we did Pandora's Box, which I was actually thinking I should go through on my own. When we did it, I couldn't really get into it because we're running the program. And I'm thinking I need to listen to those meditations right now. I'm curious what might come up. But I remember my daughter was drawing a picture for us, which I ended up not sharing. She didn't finish them, whatever. But she said, I think what we need to do is look at the chaos. Remember the chaos, which is sometimes what's in the void. And that it's just parts of us that need to be seen. And though somebody that comes out all like, "Rah!" But really, if we embrace it and we see it, it's really not so bad. It's not so scary. And I think that's why we chose the word embrace the void. Embrace those things, more than just accepting them, but embrace them because they're part of you. When I talked about being fragmented, something stepping out that needs to be seen, pull it back in. I love that you had that person that you were doing the massage with about, sending love, about really acknowledging that, seeing it. Here are some other suggestions. The first thing that I want to say is that only you, so I wrote this down. I'm like, I didn't realize it rhymed when I wrote it, but I'm going to say it anyways. Only you can heal and then seal the void. It's like you can search for someone else. So sometimes when you are single, you're looking for someone else to give you attention so you can ignore or just fill that part. But what's underneath that's still there. I want to just talk about Kathy's thing real quick since it's on here. If it's uncomfortable, then that's exactly where you need to sit and be and feel. And that is a sign of what you need to look at. Don't ignore it because it doesn't go away. You can tuck it down, but it will resurface, right? What can you do today? Here's some suggestions. I really recommend going for a walk without distraction. Don't worry about the damn Fitbit. Just go for a walk without, your phone on, no distractions, and just see what you see. And you don't have to do it in the forest, which is where I love to be. You can walk down your neighborhood street. And when you walk with the intention of being aware, right, you never know what you might see. It might even be just a stone or a crack in the sidewalk or a leaf as it falls or something. Or maybe someone walks by and you say hello. So I really recommend, or physical exercise, period, can really help. I really recommend journaling, which I discussed about what do you want, why, and what can you do today to bring you one step closer, just a little baby step closer. Allow all of your emotions, be very gentle with yourself. It's hugely important. And I'll repeat that, be very gentle with yourself. If you want to use my, I love the me that, but it goes beyond the words. It's allow yourself to lay. Allow yourself to have a bath. Allow yourself to indulge in chocolate or wine or whatever the hell you want to do, and without regret or guilt. Talk to someone. Talk to someone. I got a therapist, and I don't know if it's going to really work out. I'm not sure if it's really my thing because I actually feel really good, but I'm curious. I've given myself 3 sessions, so I'm curious what might come up. So talk to someone, a friend, someone who will lift you up, someone who sees you and loves you no matter what. And try to be in the now. Lastly, set some intentions and imagine that you're co-creating your best life with the divine, with your higher self, with your angels, spirit guides, God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whatever. Set some intentions and just believe that it's bigger than you and just release it. Those are my suggestions. Siobhan, we're almost out of time. What do you have?
Okay, so as a person who has struggled with depression and gone through some pretty bad suicidal points in my life, these are mine. You've talked about gratitude. That one is huge.
Yes.
Write yourself a 10-day, write 10 things you're grateful for every single day. It can be as simplistic as breathing in fresh air, drinking that coffee, the fact that you have shoes on your feet. Those are things that we here in spoiled North America can be grateful for. A lot of other places don't have it. So write gratitude letters. Volunteering, giving back. It is a very different thing in this times of COVID, but there are many, many ways that you can give of yourself to other people. And I assure you that levels you the fuck up very fast. It is a huge thing to get yourself involved in. Speak to somebody. Again, as somebody who is a big advocate, I've done tons of different types of therapy. Talk therapy might not be your thing. You can do NLP. You can do there's so many different things, different spheres that I'll get into. If CBT might be your thing, there's lots of different modalities that you should check out. So don't settle on one. And if you don't love your therapist in the first 3 sessions, get a new one. I've also fired therapists because I'm like, yeah, we're not a fit. That's fine. You're not for me. So talk to a therapist. As you mentioned, speak to other people. Speak to people who are doing better than you. Speak to people that you respect. Speak to people who are living the kind of life that you are living. And if you don't know those people, go onto YouTube. Get on, look at the Tony Robbins, look at the Dale.
Podcasts.
Yeah.
There's lots of great podcasts out there.
Absolutely. So get on social media, get onto these forums. There are people living the kind of inspired lives that you want to live. And if you're not feeling it today, that's no problem. Also, the biggest one, like you said, love the me that, but celebrate where you are. Because again, you don't feel like dog shit today. You don't look like dog shit. You don't smell like dog shit. Winning. And if that's all you get from your day, you are ahead of the curve, because sometimes that is the thing that you need to celebrate the most, getting out of bed. And if you're in that place, if you're in that heavy depression, even if you're not, even if you're just in the, life kind of sucks right now and I don't love it. There is a very big spectrum of like happiness to not feeling the best about yourself. But celebrate where you are and give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself. Here it is.
I know.
It to yourself because you are doing the best that you can. And today, your best might not be the best that it is, but get off social media. Don't compare yourself to somebody else's best because you are not on the same journey. Don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle.
Yeah.
And let's,
I love that. I love that. So what we want to leave you with is the message to remember to be grounded in grace. And that's really fitting today, but I think we're going to use that all the time. And we are proud to be resilient, real, and raw as we embrace life with vulnerability, compassion, and courage. And we hope that you can do the same. So thank you for joining us. We will see you next week live at 7 for another Candid Conversation. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.